A big dream is not just a luxury. It's a necessity. It's what gives your life direction, your days meaning, and your actions energy. A dream is the blueprint of your future, the silent architect of your habits, your focus, and your growth. When you have a dream that is big enough, bold enough, and meaningful enough, it becomes the fuel that drives you through the fog of doubt and the fire of discipline. A big dream whispers to your spirit long before it speaks to the world. It stirs your soul in the quiet moments when no one is watching, and it reminds you that you were born for more than routine, more than comfort, more than just getting by. Most people don't struggle because they lack intelligence or opportunity. They struggle because they lack vision. They have small dreams, or worse, no dreams at all. A person without a dream is like a ship without a rudder, drifting, reacting, responding, but never leading, never building. When you dream big, everything about you begins to change. The way you talk changes. The way you walk changes. The way you plan your day and spend your nights begins to reflect something deeper than habit. It reflects purpose. It reflects hunger. It reflects direction. A big dream isn't about impressing others. It's not about flashing success or chasing approval. A true dream is personal. It comes from the inside. It's the whisper you hear when you're quiet enough to listen. It's the image that keeps showing up when you close your eyes at night. It's the thought that refuses to leave you alone, no matter how much the world distracts you. Your dream should stretch you beyond what's comfortable. It should scare you a little. Because if it doesn't challenge your limits, it will never unlock your potential. And here's the thing, no one needs to believe in your dream but you. That's the beautiful part. You don't need permission to dream big. You don't need applause or followers or validation. All you need is a moment of courage, a clear vision, and the willingness to hold on when it gets tough. Because the road to your dream is not paved with comfort. It's paved with obstacles, with resistance, with delay and sacrifice. But the dream is worth it. And the person you become in pursuit of that dream is worth it even more. When you dream big, you become a magnet for growth. Your mind starts to search for solutions instead of excuses. You begin to seek out people who inspire you, who challenge you, who remind you of what's possible. You start to ignore distractions that used to control your time. You begin to measure your choices against your vision, not your circumstances. And that shift is everything, because most people are living their lives reacting to what's in front of them. But when you have a big dream, you're no longer reacting. You're creating. A big dream doesn't wait for the perfect time. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It just needs you to own it, to claim it, to wake up every day and say, this is what I'm going after. And when your dream is big enough, you'll start to find the discipline to say no to things that don't serve it. You'll find the strength to keep going when it feels like no one's clapping for you. You'll find the patience to endure the long nights and the quiet seasons when progress feels invisible. Because a dream that matters is not measured by how fast it comes. It's measured by how deeply it shapes you. When you have a big dream, you become bigger. Not in ego, but in vision. You see farther. You think longer. You plan with more precision. You live with more intention. Your life is no longer about just today. It's about what you're building for the next 10 years, the next 20. You begin to understand that significance is built over time, and every day becomes a brick in the foundation of that legacy. And it all starts with the courage to dream beyond your current reality. You might not know how it will happen. You might not know the steps, but that's okay. The dream comes first. The details come later. First you dream, then you begin. And once you begin, you evolve, you learn, you adapt. But it all starts with a dream that's worth waking up for, worth fighting for, worth sacrificing for. Not a dream that's safe or convenient. A dream that demands your best and brings out your highest self, because your life will rise or fall to the level of the dream you're chasing. So you better make it big enough to pull you through the dark days and strong enough to light your path on the hard ones. A dream, no matter how big or powerful, remains only a spark unless it is sharpened into clear vision. Clarity is what transforms a beautiful idea into a strategic pursuit. It's what turns vague hope into concrete direction. Without clarity, A person with great potential can wander for years full of desire but lacking momentum. But when you gain clarity, everything starts to align. Your time, your energy, your thoughts, your associations, they begin to organize themselves around a defined destination. Clarity is the steering wheel of the vehicle that carries your dream. It doesn't matter how fast you're driving if you don't know where you're going. Most people have dreams that are broad, fuzzy, or emotionally driven, but not practically shaped. They say they want success, but they haven't defined what success means to them. They say they want freedom, but they haven't written down what freedom looks like in their life. That's the danger of ambiguity. If your dream isn't clear, it's not actionable. And if it's not actionable, it won't shape your decisions. You end up reacting to life instead of building one. That's how people get stuck in cycles. They keep moving, but they're not progressing, because motion without vision is just noise. Clarity begins when you decide to be specific. You take that big, bold dream and you start asking the right questions. What does it look like when it's real? What would it feel like? Who would be involved? Where would I be standing when I've arrived? What time would I wake up each day? What kind of work would I be doing? The more specific you get, the more your subconscious mind begins to understand that this isn't just a fantasy. It's a goal. It's a target. It's a mission. That shift from vague to vivid is what activates focus, and focus is where progress is born. When you gain clarity, you start to live by design instead of by default. You stop waiting for lucky breaks or better timing. You start building a strategy, a blueprint, a daily plan. That's when distractions lose their power. You see, the clearer the vision, the stronger the filter. Clarity allows you to say no with confidence. No to habits that steal your time. No to people who don't match your future. No to opportunities that look good but aren't aligned with your purpose. Without clarity, you become vulnerable to anything that feels urgent but not important. And that's how dreams slowly die, by being buried under busy work. Clarity turns goals into priorities, and priorities into action steps. One of the greatest secrets of achievement is this: the more detailed your vision, the easier it becomes to identify the next step. You don't need to know the entire staircase. You just need to see the next few stairs clearly. When your vision is clear, your day becomes intentional. You stop waking up hoping for motivation. You start waking up knowing what matters. You know what to work on, and just as importantly, you know what to ignore. Clarity also affects your language. The way you talk about your dream changes. You move from saying, I hope, to I will. From maybe someday, to by this date. From I want to be successful, to this is how I define my success, and this is how I'm going to achieve it. That kind of language reshapes your identity, because clarity is not just about the dream. It's about the kind of person you need to become in order to fulfill it. When your vision is sharp, your habits shift, your associations change, your environment adjusts. You don't need to force yourself to change. You're being pulled into it by the clarity of your vision. People often think they need more motivation when what they really need is more clarity. Motivation is temporary. Clarity is foundational. It doesn't just push you forward. It holds you steady when things get confusing. Life will test you. It will present uncertainty, distraction, and delay. But if your vision is clear, you can stay centered. You can remind yourself of what matters most. You can realign your energy even after a setback. Clarity gives you the ability to pivot without losing momentum, to adapt without compromising the dream. Writing down your vision is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for gaining clarity. When you write it, you own it. You bring it out of the realm of imagination and into the realm of commitment. It becomes more than a wish. It becomes a contract between you and your future. A clear vision written with detail and purpose becomes your compass in times of doubt. It speaks louder than fear, louder than failure, louder than fatigue. It reminds you why you started. And more importantly, it reminds you where you're going. Clarity also fuels belief. The more clearly you can see your dream, the more deeply you begin to believe that it's possible. Doubt thrives in confusion, but belief grows in focus. And when you believe, you begin to act. You make better decisions. You manage your time with precision. You measure progress, not just activity. You treat your goals like they matter because they do. And it all began with that moment of clarity, that decision to stop guessing and start defining what you truly want out of life. One of the biggest lies people believe is that they need more before they can begin. More money, more time, more resources, more confidence, more experience. They convince themselves that someday, when the conditions are perfect, they'll finally start working on their dream. But that's not how success works. That's not how progress is made. The truth is, you don't need to have everything figured out before you take the first step. You just need to start. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Because waiting for perfect conditions is just a clever way to avoid taking responsibility. Great journeys begin with humble steps. Every master was once a beginner. Every empire began with a single brick. If you study the people who built something great, you'll find that they didn't begin with abundance. They began with belief. They didn't begin with clarity. They began with commitment. They didn't begin with applause. They began in silence, in private, often with nothing but a simple idea and the courage to act on it. You have more than you think. You have a mind that can grow. You have time that can be managed. You have gifts you haven't fully explored yet. The problem is not lack of resources. It's a lack of movement. People often underestimate what they can do with small beginnings. They dismiss their current situation because it doesn't look impressive. They think if it's not loud, it's not valuable. But progress is rarely loud. In fact, it's usually quiet. It's the decision to get up an hour earlier. It's the decision to practice when no one is watching. It's the discipline to write one page, record one video, make one phone call. These small acts of consistency are what shape the foundation of anything meaningful. Starting small isn't a weakness. It's a strategy. It teaches you patience. It teaches you humility. It keeps you grounded. While you grow, you might not have the ideal setup, but you have a starting point. And if you treat that starting point with respect, it will expand. If you manage what's in your hand with diligence, you'll be trusted with more. That's how growth works. You don't get to skip the early chapters. You earn the right to turn the page. You show up every day and give your best to the version of the dream that exists right now, even if it's not yet what you imagined. And the moment you start doing that, momentum begins to build. Opportunities start to appear. People begin to notice. Doors begin to open, not because you waited, but because you moved. Some people are so focused on what they lack that they become blind to what they have. They say, I can't start a business. I don't have capital. But maybe they have time. Maybe they have access to learning. Maybe they have a skill someone else needs. They say, I can't pursue my passion. I have a full-time job. But that same job might fund the tools they need or teach them discipline they'll later use. The point is, if you keep telling yourself you can't start, you never will. But if you start saying, what can I do today with what I have? The answers begin to reveal themselves. Action creates clarity. Movement exposes opportunity. When you begin, even in a small way, your perspective begins to shift. You start to see possibilities that weren't visible from the sidelines. The moment you take that first step, you're no longer a dreamer. You're a doer. You've entered the arena. You've become someone who's no longer just talking about the life they want, but someone who's building it piece by piece. And that identity shift is powerful because you don't rise to the level of your intentions. You rise to the level of your habits. Starting where you are also means taking responsibility for your environment. Maybe your surroundings aren't ideal. Maybe the people around you don't believe in your dream. But that doesn't mean you're stuck. You can begin by creating mental space, by reading the right books, by feeding your mind something better, by changing your circle, even if it starts online. Every powerful transformation begins with a moment of ownership. You stop blaming what you don't have and start using what you do. Every tool you need to start already exists within reach. It might not be shiny. It might not be impressive, but it's enough. The seed is already in your hand. The question is, will you plant it? Will you water it daily? Will you trust that it can grow even if no one sees it yet? Because the world doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who act. You can either keep postponing your dream or you can begin to create it today with whatever is available to you. And when you honor the small beginnings, you'll look back one day and realize that the step you took today was the one that changed everything in the pursuit of any meaningful goal. The temptation to rely on intensity is strong. We all want fast results. We want the dramatic transformation. We want the overnight success story. But real growth, lasting change, true achievement, those things don't come from one big burst of energy. They come from steady effort, repeated over time. Consistency is the secret weapon that most people overlook. It's not as exciting as intensity. It's not as loud, but it works. And it works every time. Intensity might get you started, but consistency is what gets you finished. Anyone can be intense for a day. Anyone can make a bold declaration or take massive action in a moment of motivation. But what happens when the excitement fades? What happens when the feeling disappears, when the applause dies down, when it's just you and the work? That's where most people quit, because they were chasing a moment, not building a rhythm. Consistency builds that rhythm. It creates structure. It becomes a habit. And once something becomes a habit, it becomes easier to do than to avoid. The people who achieve great things are not always the most talented. They're not always the most connected, but they are the most consistent. They show up every day. They do the work even when they don't feel like it. They understand that excellence is not an event. It's a practice. It's the result of doing small things well over and over again. That's what creates trust. That's what builds mastery. That's what earns results. One day of effort can be inspiring, but 100 days of effort is transformational. Consistency is also what separates the emotional from the committed. If you only act when you feel good, your results will be inconsistent, because emotions change. Circumstances change. Motivation comes and goes. But commitment doesn't waver. Commitment says, this matters to me, so I'm going to do it regardless of how I feel. When you make that shift from chasing inspiration to building discipline, you become dangerous. You become someone who moves forward even in the absence of ideal conditions. And over time, that kind of person becomes unstoppable. There's a compound effect that comes with consistency. Small actions repeated over time grow into big results. But most people miss this because they're too focused on the short term. They want to see results now. And when they don't, they get discouraged. But success is not always visible right away. It's like planting a seed. For a while, nothing seems to be happening. But beneath the surface, roots are growing. Foundations are being formed. And eventually, that seed breaks through the ground and becomes something powerful. But it only happens for the one who stayed consistent when no one else believed. You don't need to do extraordinary things. You just need to do ordinary things extraordinarily well over and over again. Wake up and follow the routine. Show up and do the work. Read the book. Practice the skill. Make the call. Write the page. Study the material over and over, not just once, not just when it's convenient, every single day. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up even when it's messy, even when it's not your best day, even when progress feels slow. Because every time you show up, you cast a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. The beauty of consistency is that it doesn't rely on huge effort. It relies on repeated effort. It's less about how much you do and more about how often you do it. One workout won't change your body. One act of kindness won't build your reputation. 1 hour of focus won't create a legacy, but done daily, they will. And the real benefit isn't just in what you achieve. It's in who you become. You begin to trust yourself. You build confidence. You start to believe, not just in the dream, but in your ability to carry a consistency also builds momentum. When you do something daily, it becomes part of your identity. You no longer have to convince yourself to do it. You just do it. That reduces resistance. That eliminates decision fatigue. That creates flow. You don't waste time wondering whether you're in the mood. You just follow the plan. And that freedom, the freedom to take action without drama, is one of the greatest gifts consistency can give. Your dream doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be faithful. It doesn't need you to sprint. It needs you to keep walking, day after day, brick by brick, line by line. Because over time, consistency becomes a force. It creates habits. It builds momentum. It attracts opportunity. It sets you apart. And while the world celebrates intensity, the wise build their future on consistency. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in life. It can paralyze a dream, silence a voice, stop a decision, and freeze a future that was meant to move forward. But fear by itself has no power. It only gains power when you believe its story and obey its commands. Fear says, wait until you're ready, and many do. Fear says, you're not good enough, and many believe it. Fear says, what if you fail? And many never try. But there's only one thing that has the power to silence fear and shift your life forward. Action. Fear doesn't go away by thinking about it. You can't overanalyze your way out of fear. You can't wish it away or reason it away. You break fear through movement. You walk through it. You do the thing while you're afraid. You speak when your voice shakes. You show up even when your hands tremble. And something powerful happens the moment you take that first step. Fear loses its grip because fear thrives in anticipation, but action destroys anticipation. The longer you sit and think about all the things that could go wrong, the louder fear becomes. But the moment you take even the smallest step forward, clarity begins to return, courage begins to grow, and momentum begins to build. Fear creates imaginary scenarios that feel real. It paints pictures of embarrassment, failure, judgment, loss. But the moment you take action, you bring your attention back to the present. You stop playing mental movies about the worst-case scenario and start experiencing the truth of the moment. Most of the time, the thing we feared wasn't nearly as bad as we imagined. And even when it does go wrong, we learn, we grow, we adjust. You either get the result or the lesson, but both are valuable. But you don't get either if you don't take action. The secret that most people don't realize is this: courage is not something you wait for. It's something you generate by doing. You become courageous by acting in the face of fear. You don't wait until you feel brave. You act, and then bravery shows up. You don't wait until you're confident. You act, and confidence grows. Action is the key that unlocks every other quality you need: discipline, belief, energy, clarity, passion. But it has to start with a step, not a wish. Wishing feels good, but it changes nothing. Action feels uncomfortable, but it moves the needle. When you act, you begin to see results, and results build belief, and belief reduces fear. That cycle is what transforms your life. Action creates feedback. Feedback sharpens your approach. A sharpened approach leads to progress, and progress turns into power. But you don't get progress if you don't start. You can study all the books. You can plan for years. You can wait for the perfect moment. But none of it matters until you take that first step. Many people think they have a fear problem, when what they really have is an inactivity problem. They're not stuck because of fear. They're stuck because they haven't moved in so long that fear has become comfortable, familiar. It has become their story. And stories, once repeated enough times, begin to sound like truth. But stories can be rewritten. They can be replaced with new evidence. And action gives you that evidence. Every time you show up, even in a small way, you collect proof that you are capable, that you are stronger than you thought, that the fear was just a shadow, not a wall. Action builds resilience. It trains your nervous system to stop overreacting. It conditions your body to handle pressure. It rewires your brain to expect success instead of doubt. That doesn't mean you won't feel fear again. You will. But next time, you'll recognize it for what it is: a sign you're stepping into something important, something meaningful, something bigger than what you're used to. And instead of retreating, you'll move. You'll act, because you've built the muscle of courage through practice, not just through intention. The more you act, the more you begin to trust yourself. You begin to rely on your own ability to figure things out. You stop needing guarantees. You stop needing everything to be perfect. You just start, and starting becomes a way of life. You develop what most people lack: not talent, not intelligence, but initiative. The ability to begin, the ability to move forward, the ability to do something when most people are still thinking about it. Fear is loud, but it's not loyal. It will desert you the moment you act. It will vanish the moment you step in the direction of your goal. And in its place, you will find strength, you will find progress, and you will find power that was always there, waiting to be awakened through action. One of the greatest illusions in life is the word someday. It sounds gentle. It sounds patient. It sounds like wisdom. But more often than not, it becomes the soft cover for procrastination, fear, and delay. Someday is where dreams go to sleep. Someday is where intentions get lost. Someday is where potential gets buried under excuses, distractions, and uncertainty. People say, someday I'll start that business. Someday I'll get in shape. Someday I'll write that book. But what they don't realize is that someday is not a date on the calendar. It's a story we tell ourselves to avoid the responsibility of acting today. Success does not wait for someday. It responds to now. The present moment is the only place where anything can be changed, improved, created, or built. The past is gone. The future is uncertain. But now, this moment, this breath, this day, that's where the work happens. The ones who win in life are not always the ones with the best resources or the most talent. They are the ones who learn how to master the now. They understand the urgency of action. They don't wait for inspiration. They don't wait for approval. They don't wait for all the lights to turn green before they leave the driveway. They move now with what they have, with what they know, and with a belief that the next step will reveal itself as they walk forward. Many people waste years waiting for the right feeling. They want to feel motivated. They want to feel confident. They want to feel ready. But feelings are unreliable. They come and go like the wind. If you let your actions depend on your emotions, your life will be built on a shaky foundation. But when you anchor your life in disciplined action taken in the now, you create something solid. You create momentum. And momentum is not created by grand gestures. It's created by small, repeated choices made today. The people who are constantly waiting for the perfect moment are often the ones who look back with the deepest regret. They realize too late that the moment was never going to feel perfect. The timing was never going to be convenient. The fear was never going to fully disappear. And the opportunities they were hoping for, they came and went while they were still thinking. Success is not something that visits the hesitant. It visits the prepared. It visits the proactive. It visits the ones who choose to act in the now. Every dream, no matter how big, must start with one decision made today, not tomorrow, not when the economy is better, not when you've read one more book, not when someone else finally believes in you now, right now. Because this moment is alive. This moment is open. This moment is asking you, what are you doing with me? Every hour you let pass without action becomes a piece of time that cannot be recovered. And every hour you invest with purpose becomes a brick in the foundation of the life you want to build. There is a cost to delay. We often underestimate it because it's quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't send warnings. It just quietly stacks up day after day. And before you know it, a month is gone, then a year, then 5. And the life you once imagined begins to fade into the background while the life you settled for takes over. That's the tragedy of someday thinking. It convinces you that you're safe because you still have time. But time is only useful when it's used. And the only time you truly own is now. Taking action in the now doesn't mean rushing. It doesn't mean being reckless. It means being decisive. It means being clear. It means understanding that progress is a result of movement, not perfection. When you act in the present, you interrupt the cycle of hesitation. You train yourself to respond, to adapt, to create. You stop waiting for the world to change and start becoming the change yourself. And in doing so, you begin to build momentum, real, measurable, powerful momentum that multiplies over time. The habit of taking immediate action also builds self-trust. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who does what they say they will do. And that reputation with yourself is priceless. Because once you trust yourself, your confidence grows. And once your confidence grows, your results grow. But it all traces back to the simple discipline of acting now. Not when the conditions are right. Not when you feel good. Now, there are opportunities all around you right now. Connections to make, skills to build, messages to send, habits to form. They're waiting for your attention. They're waiting for your commitment. And while most people are scrolling, comparing, doubting, or hesitating, a few people are taking action. They are building in silence. They are working when no one is clapping. They are planting seeds that will grow into forests. And they are doing it in the only place it can be done. In the now, the difference between people who wish for a better life and those who build one isn't always talent or luck. It's action. It's urgency. It's the understanding that the door to your future opens with decisions made today. The life you dream of will not come to you someday. It will come because you showed up today and did the work, faced the fear, made the call, wrote the page, took the first step, and refused to wait for perfect. Every great achievement begins with a dream, a vision so powerful it pulls you beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond comfort. But a dream alone is not enough. It must be clear, it must be specific, and it must be sharpened into focus. Without clarity, even the biggest dream will drift like a ship with no compass. And once that clarity is set, you don't wait. You don't hope. You begin. You start right where you are with what you have, doing what you can. It doesn't matter how small the beginning is. What matters is that you start. Because that small step taken with commitment builds momentum that no one can see, but you can feel. In a world obsessed with intensity, you learn to value consistency. You show up every day, not for applause, not for perfection, but for progress. You do the work even when no one is watching. You plant the seeds when the soil feels dry, because you understand that excellence is not built in a burst. It's built in the grind. And when fear whispers, you don't run, you move. You act. You show fear that your courage doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from doing the work anyway. Action becomes your answer. And every step forward turns fear into fuel. You stop saying someday. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You live in the now. You build in the now. Because you know that success isn't found in the distant future. It's built in this very moment through the choices you make, the habits you form, the actions you take. Dream big, start small, act now. That's not just a philosophy. That's a way of life.